Well, listen, joining me now is the CEO of Young Enterprise UK. This is Sharon Davies. She has dedicated her life to creating opportunities for young people and is now at the forefront of a national charity that works directly with those young people, teachers, parents and businesses to help build a successful future for all. Good morning.
Good morning, Petrie. How are you?
I'm very well indeed. I was half expecting the swimmer, but I'm sure you get that.
Well, yeah, I think my mum was having a laugh when she kind of named me.
She definitely was trying to really hamper you in some way.
Yes.
But anyway, it's lovely to see you. Good morning to you. What an exciting prospect. So, from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, please do, this is about getting young people interested in being entrepreneurs, in being business leaders, in being business people, rather than just getting a job.
Absolutely. Well, it's also about developing an enterprising mindset. So that enterprising mindset could be used in someone else's business. It's about being able to use your initiative, being able to adapt and respond to the changing environment that we're all living through at the moment. And we know that young people have got an enterprising mindset, but our programs and services offer them opportunities to apply that.
Okay, so what makes young people specifically well set for a job in enterprise, to have that ability? Do they have the exciting ideas that perhaps those of us who are a tiny little bit older may not have anymore?
I think there's a great creativity, isn't there, with Gen Z? They're really creative. I think it's also about encouraging them to build their confidence, to try new things, to take risks. And we work with children right from the age of 5. We run a program called the Fiver Challenge, where they have £5 and they have that £5 to make as much difference as they possibly can within that month, and they get to keep the profits.
That's clever. Well, so they could then what? So, for example, they could buy a window cleaning kit for a £5 and then clean windows and come back with 50 quid.
Absolutely. Right. I mean, there's been lots of different ideas that some of them have kind of bought labels and they've kind of made these labels and coloured them in, and they've then sold them on to like parents who have lots of them either with PE kits coming back that are someone else's. So this unique way of identifying your child's PE kit. So they're very creative, and it really kind of sparks the enterprise right from an early age.
And why is it that schools don't teach this? Why is it that schools almost pigeonhole children and say, right, you're going to be, fodder for another business. You're going to be, this is how you get a job rather than a career?
I mean, there are some great schools that do really champion enterprise. They embed it within the curriculum. And let's face it, Petrie, the young people could be working up until they're 70. They could have 10 careers. So why can't one of them be being an entrepreneur or even having a side hustle? So I think increasingly schools are seeing the importance of applying learning. They know it's important to make sure young people have the skills to leave work with. So we work with a number of schools that really benefit and really want to provide these programs and services. And also financial education is increasingly important.
I was literally just about to say that, because I've never used a log table in my life since I left school, right? The logarithms, never needed them. And I wonder why it is that applied mathematics isn't favoured in schools these days, in teaching you about interest rates and how they matter against your mortgage, and are you better to fix the rate or not fix the rate? Don't get a credit card because they're 35% unless you're going to pay it back. But that doesn't seem to be in the curriculum. I mean, I'm having building work done at the moment. I can't square root my living room for love nor money, because I was never taught. I was taught how to do it, but it didn't apply it to the square footage in my living room.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? So it's of no use.
Agree.
Yeah,
I agree. It is on the secondary curriculum. It's not taught consistently across the UK. Look, there are some fantastic schools that do that. There's some really, really good schools that apply it right through the curriculum. And that's where we're seeing young people who are coming out of school, who are financially capable, they're making great choices, they are using comparison websites, they're avoiding scams because they know what to look for. And that's what we need. We need young people who are ready and are able to kind of respond to this changing world of
Absolutely.
work.
Absolutely. And it's so much more complicated and so much more available. The other thing is, Sharon, that when I was younger, I didn't know about the amazing amounts of careers that were out there. I mean, my dad was a broadcaster, so I knew about that.
Yeah.
But if I'd known about films, or I was just saying the other day, I think I would have loved to have been a makeup artist in film.
Yeah. Well, do you know what?
I didn't know that existed. So I think young people now, they know there's a broader field than we probably did.
I agree. I mean, my own experience was that I didn't know anything about youth work. I was working in a quick save in a supermarket, and it was a youth worker I met by chance who saw me working with a group of young people and said, you know what, you've got some great interpersonal skills there. So it is about having relatable role models that can come from schools, that can talk about the different careers. And now what's brilliant about volunteering is that can happen remotely. We can do this via Zoom, wherever that school is. It doesn't have to have somebody coming in physically into the school. So young people can be inspired, can be given lots of different information about various careers.
Yeah, I mean, we need a much more diverse bunch of kids in media. I'm telling you that for nothing. And for some reason, it just doesn't really happen. And that, I think that's a real tragedy. And we're the worst for it. We're absolutely the worst for it. The thing about Gen Z, right, is that this is what we hear all the time. I know some people who would fit into that category. They tend to not want to muddy their boots before they're the CEO. And certainly in my career, I come across a lot of young people who think that they want to do what I'm doing. And I go, yeah, absolutely. But I wasn't born doing this. I had to go and travel the world and be a reporter and muddy my boots. How do we persuade young people that there is a legitimate learning curve, that there is something that you have to go through the bad stuff sometimes to get to the good stuff? You can't just go straight to the good stuff.
I mean, I think there's a couple of things there. The first thing is about providing those opportunities to learn. I think it's also about making failure very much part and parcel of the learning experience, and really neutralising. In America, we know, don't we, that failure is very much part and parcel of a badge of honour. And this country, we don't do that so much. Failure is not.
We protect them, don't we? We protect them from early sports days, saying it doesn't matter if you don't win. It actually does.
Well, absolutely. And also failure, if you think of a business sense, failure is part of innovation. Yeah. Failure is part and parcel of learning how to do things differently. And, we have got grafters. We have got young people who are grafters. I'll give you a great example. We had a group of young people that went out to Estonia very recently, last week. They went out they represented the UK in the Company of the Year competition out in Estonia, and they were brilliant. They got up, they travelled 8 hours to Heathrow. They flew 2 flights. The travel delays, they then got up the next morning, did their presentations, and these are year 10 young people.
That's impressive.
It's impressive. It's absolutely impressive.
I wouldn't do that. Not now, anyway. I may have done in year 10. Look, tell me about these young people, because the Company of the Year award, these are year 10. Remind people who don't have children, for example. I get confused about the years now. Mine's grown up.
Year 10 is 4th year in old money.
4th year in old money. So what, 15, 16?
Yeah, so kind of 14, 15. Yeah.
See, I can do 4th year. But... So they've representing the UK. Tell me what they've come up with, because it's actually really clever.
Yeah, well, there's 2 companies. The Year 10 company, are basically come up with a jewellery business that basically is a conversation starter about plastic pollution. So they've made their jewellery from microplastics that they've picked up from Cornish beaches. So, and they utilised that to, I mean, and they were selling their goods like a storm. I was with them in Estonia and I was watching them, and the gift of the gab, they were fantastic.
Really?
They were absolutely fantastic. Really, really clever. And essentially, it's a conversation starter about plastic pollutions. And they've also kind of stripped down, the boogie boards, beach boards, that have that kind of plastic, that have that kind of material to it. They stripped them down. They've made bags out of them. So essentially, again, making conversations about the stuff that you find lying around the beaches. So really, really impressive. And they made £400 in one day trading.
Blimey. I must get down to Cornish beaches. But that's very impressive. And they've got the enthusiasm for it. Do you think the future, I mean, I think in terms of society, the future is safe in the hands of the young people, the way they express themselves now, the way they can talk to each other more. But I'm not so sure about business. Do you think business and entrepreneurship is safe in the hands of these young people?
Yeah, I do. I think they're creative. I think they're starting to think about how to respond to the changing needs that we have. They're thinking about the problems that we need to solve. They are thinking about climate change. They're thinking about their communities. How can we engage with our communities differently? How can we solve problems differently? There was another company that we took out to Estonia that actually won the startup, which is the older age group, and they designed some ear defenders, some hearing protectors, which are new on the market, and so they're thinking about different ways of solving problems, and they've already got some interest from some international festivals. So, they are thinking very, very differently about the problems that we're experiencing,
and they're not being sort of preachy about it, because that's the other thing I find with some young people is they get very preachy, and if you push back with a fact or two, they tend to get a little bit cross and upset about it. So are they responsive to being wrong? Because again, we've trained young people that they're never wrong, and I'm afraid they are, like I am, like you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And then part and parcel of the experience with Young Enterprise is that they respond to constructive feedback. So we have Dragon's Den sessions. They have a volunteer business advisor who is supporting them, who's basically not challenging them, but very often will be asking them questions, because that's where you learn, right? It's that reflective learning. What would you do differently next time? And really understanding that failure is an integral part of that learning process.
I mean, thank goodness, I've been nowhere without failure. I mean, it's quite no, but it's true. I mean, I've been fired so many times. I don't think I've learned anything from it. But no, I mean, it's so important, because failing is not in itself a bad thing if you can get up and learn from it. It's only a bad thing if you then sulk and don't do anything with it.
Yeah, well, it's feedback, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's feedback that you need to do something differently. Otherwise, you're going to get the same thing again.
Well, I think this sounds brilliant, and I love your enthusiasm for it as well.
Thank you. And you know what? We're celebrating 60 years of serving young people next year. So if you've got any viewers who took part in Young Enterprise right from 1963, then we would love to hear from you, because we're celebrating our 60 years of serving young people.
That's extraordinary, isn't it? 60 years. Anyway, listen, I'll let you get back to your swimming training.
Thank you.
Good to talk to you. Sharon Davies there, CEO of Young Enterprise UK. So if you do have a background with Young Enterprise UK, do get in touch with us. We can pass your number on, because they're celebrating 60 years. She's not the swimmer, by the way, in case you're wondering. She wasn't the swimmer. It was just me teasing. So listen, stay with us here. I've got loads more texts and phone calls from you in just a moment. So stay where you are, and we'll talk to Christine next.